Hi, my name is Rachel Nuwer. I'm a New York-based freelance science journalist, and I'm writing a book about the illegal wildlife trade called The World Without Wildlife. Now, if you don't follow news about the illegal wildlife trade, let me just give you a quick rundown. Illegal wildlife trade threatens all kinds of animals with extinction, from rhinos to tigers to elephants to things that are lesser known like pangolins or seahorses. And it's mostly fueled by demand for animal parts and animals in Asia. In places like China, traditional medicine calls for all sorts of endangered species parts. In Vietnam, people think it's a delicacy to eat rare animals taken from the wild. So this is creating vast demand for these creatures and, threatening them with extinction. But illegal wildlife trade, if you think of it in those terms, it's just really depressing and can feel quite overwhelming. So I'm taking readers along with me on a narrative journey to the front lines of the trade to see firsthand what is driving demand, what is being done about it, and if there's any hope for these species and what people can do at home to stop it. Unfortunately, though, media outlets, even well-known ones like National Geographic and the New York Times, they just don't have the money to fly reporters all over the world chasing down these stories. So that's where the Pulitzer Center comes in. They kindly funded a trip I took to South Africa and to Malawi. Now, when I was down in South Africa, I checked out the world's largest rhino farm, where a guy named John Hume has over 1,000 rhinos living on his giant ranch, and he raises them there. And he spends a tremendous amount of money each year, like $300,000 a month or something like that, something crazy, protecting these rhinos from poachers, because their horns are very, very valuable on the black market in places like Vietnam and China. So John Hume, this rhino rancher, and others like him in South Africa think that South Africa should legalize trade in rhino horns. So they think that by selling these rhino horns, they can raise some money to help cover their costs to protect the rhinos and also buy the species time while we figure out how to reduce demand in places like Vietnam and China and increase enforcement in places like South Africa. So that was one of the trips I took, thanks to the Pulitzer Center. The other was to Malawi, where I checked out some conservation drones. Perhaps you've heard about drones on the news. They're not just used in places like Iraq or Syria, but also for wildlife projects. And in Africa, this South African-based group called UDS wants to use drones to patrol for poachers. Now, drones got a lot of hype in the media a while back about combating poaching in Africa, but in actuality, they haven't really been used effectively. No one can figure out how to do it, and this group UDS is the only one still really seriously pursuing it. So I joined them in the field in Malawi to see what their drones can and can't do. They just started operations there at a park called Lawandi, and we got to see some pretty cool stuff. The drones flying at night, thermal images of elephants down below. We even saw an illegal fisherman who was entering the park, so that was pretty crazy. So that's it about my project. I hope that you guys enjoy the coverage I've made from the field in South Africa and in Malawi. I published those stories with the New York Times and also with Newsweek magazine. Keep an eye out for upcoming stories from Chad and from Asia, including Laos, China, and Vietnam. And in 2017, I hope you join me on that narrative journey I'm taking in the world without wildlife.